All right. Pot of Gold, welcome back. I'm Brett. I'm here with Mike Grant, the intern, in a true undisclosed location. He's on vacation for the last 2 weeks of the season, as all producers do towards the holiday season when bowls are, at the premium. The playoff is right around the corner. They need their time. So hit us up on Twitter at pot of gold at gmail.com, patreon.com/gold, at gold Mike. Mike, LSU went and took care of business, 41-10.
Number 5 snuck into the number 5 spot. We are here, few days away.
What a time to be alive, Michael.
Unreal. I have to pinch myself every now and then whenever I turn on the TV and the graphic for predicting the college football playoffs has a picture of Jaden Daniels amongst CJ Stroud. It's like, wait a minute, like when did this happen? Like, how did this happen?
A
Pretty
topic of
incredible.
discussion, because I feel like as LSU fans, like we're talking the least about Jaden Daniels' Heisman chances in the next coming weeks. I feel like the national probably sees it more than we do. It's very possible Jaden Daniels wins the national or the Heisman. Like he has an opportunity to. I don't think he
He's
will,
got the 4th
but
best odds right now.
it's nuts. And then, LSU at number 5. I always said, we talked about it in the Ed Orgeron years. I just want to be in the picture. Like, I just want to be in the little graphic at the bottom of the screen where it was like Dabo, Lincoln Riley, Nick Saban, and Ed. And now it's like Brian Kelly. And it's like, what an incredible job to be here. Like it seems so weird that LSU probably most likely controls their own destiny at this point.
Absolutely. And it, Brian Kelly, kudos to him and staff for getting this ball rolling very early in year 1 and really laying the precedent that this is who we are. This is where the program is going. Believe it. There's a lot of people that can rebuild. There's a lot of teams that are, hey, this is a first-year coach, buy into our program because eventually we're going to get there. Like Brian Kelly, hit the ground running immediately. Like we're there. Like we're in discussion. You can be part of this team and get us over the hump if we do fail. But guess what? Like we're here and coaching matters and you are going to be developed here every single week. I think it's the wins that we just had this past weekend against a team like UAB that really speak to the type of direction we're going, that it matters, even if the opponent is not somebody that should be in the discussion or should be a contender or is a contender. I mean, like UAB, it's a group of 5 team. They have no business competing with the number 5 team in the country. And we made that a reality. Right. And like
It's also 8 o'clock in cold, rainy, windy conditions with dozens of people in the stands. The last time LSU was in that stadium, there was no one in the stands because everyone was on the field. And to be able to just take care of business, it's like we're not just going to sit here and bow down talking about how amazing LSU is because they beat up on UAB, but it's just being able to go out and take care of business. I wish Jaden Daniels wouldn't have had to play as much. I wish Walker Howard would have maybe seen a couple throws there, but take care of business, get out of there healthy, look forward to A&M, wherein a lot of teams around the country played kind of flat on this kind of a weird cock tease Saturday. We got a little bit of it with the actual Gamecocks, with Tennessee going down in pretty historically bad fashion. But yeah, it was just nice to see LSU go in, take care of business, and leave. And Brian Kelly talked a lot about it in his press conference about the team maturing and accountability and just what it takes and how this team's grown. And it's been fun to watch.
Brian Kelly talked about how it was eye-opening to him and how proud he is of this team with how they handled their business against UAB. And that says a lot. It says a lot about the preparation, and it says a lot about how the little things matter, the little games matter. We're at the end of the season. We're a couple weeks away from the SEC championship. UAB should not be somebody that we're really worried about. We go in the first pass Jaden Daniels has is a confident rope down the side, not a rope, but a beautiful place ball to Malik Neighbors. You saw the tight end, you saw Mason Taylor get back involved in the game plan. Like it was obvious that Brian Kelly talked about how it'll never happen again. What happened against Arkansas, how we did not take advantage of certain defensive packages that Arkansas brought, and we just kind of stayed standard and stayed in our own little realm. And he said that is on the offensive staff. That will never happen again. You see against UAB, we put everything out there. Doesn't matter who it is. We're playing our football to the best of our abilities, no matter who it is, no matter the conditions, no matter what week it is, and we did that.
Well, a week later, the Arkansas win looks a little differently. It looks a little different than it did, post Saturday morning.
Mhm.
I get KJ Jefferson was in there, but Arkansas got rolled. Like our Ole Miss
Ole Miss
got
got
rolled
rolled.
by
What?
Arkansas, and it's just like, there is something to say, and Brian Kelly's been talking about it a lot of just like the grind of the SEC, and it's like just because the point spread's big or this team shouldn't be, week in and week out, you just kind of have to be able to take a team's best punch, and the SEC has a lot of teams that can give you a really good punch and just survive in advance, and they've done a great job of doing that. Now let's just go beat the shit.
The
Let's go
shit.
bury. Let's go bury. Let's go
I want
bury
to
Jimbo.
bury Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies. Bury them. 10 points isn't enough. We'll get into that in due time. I wanna stay on this past weekend a little bit because not
Yeah.
only did
Well,
LSU perform.
get
Go ahead.
ready. We talk a lot about how the media is starting to like LSU and give LSU some love, and it's like the rat poison. Get ready because if LSU sneaks their way into the playoffs and maybe possibly loses to the #1 seed in the first round, we're gonna have to endure the whole like, oh, Brian Kelly went to LSU, he still can't win a playoff game. I'm just throwing that out there. I thought about that today, and I was just like, well, they'll turn on us immediately and say Brian Kelly like it has no idea how to do the playoffs. Haha, look at them. Like and maybe they should hire Jimbo. But just
But
be
those are
prepared for
leeches.
that.
Those are degenerates. Those are people. That's like going to Denver and being like, "Hey, expect a bunch of bums. They're going to ask you for money." Like it's just something you have to expect that's going to happen, but you know it's not worth your salt. It is what it is. But no, dude, a very lackluster weekend from the top 10. You had right out of the gates, you had the little tease of Baylor against TCU, which Baylor, dude, how many opportunities do you need to ice a game? That quarterback totally shit the bed, not converting on that third and short, like sliding before the first down marker when literally you can knock this team out of the playoffs by literally driving your feet and going 2 more yards. It was pretty incredible to watch. The fact that they had no timeouts left, no time left, and they hustled onto the field and got set without a penalty and were able to get that kickoff. It was like, how does this team, how do they do that? But all the Les Miles years, it was just like nothing's going to go right in this type of situation.
Oh yeah, it was the most like Les Miles scenario of all time, or it's like 20 something seconds left. It's like, let's run a draw. Like I know it sounds crazy. Why don't we just hand it off? And
Line
everyone's
it
like,
up.
no, no. And it's like, no, this is our fucking play. And they just pulled it off to perfection. And I just was like dying laughing as a few hours, maybe 12 hours later, LSU's kickoff team gives up a big return. And it was just like,
That's the
sometimes like
stuff, dude.
picturing LSU's special teams in situations that some of these teams pull out week in and week out. Like,
Yeah,
it
it's
gives me a
unreal.
good laugh.
Well, listen, TCU's kicker did not have his helmet. So that was one thing that they almost fucked up with. He grabbed a helmet and just ran out there. That's pretty crazy. The fact that like in that scenario, this dude doesn't have his helmet.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But they pulled it off. That's apparently a playoff team. So they
Survive in
are,
advance.
yeah, they're listen, kudos to TCU, dude, for really putting it on week in and week out in the Big 12. I understand it's a weaker conference, but yet that's a very trappy conference. There's always they can score points. They always have good offenses, and the fact that TCU's been able to survive, especially the way they have, that's why they're the top four. That's why they're involved with the discussion. And then Michigan. The minute that game ended, I flip over to Michigan, Illinois, and it was the same exact scenario. The fact that I really circled on my list Illinois plus 17 and didn't touch it just destroyed me turning over to that game. But it is what
Bielema, a fight for the Bielemas.
just I'm not impressed at all by Michigan. And like I get it. Like I'm a Michigan guy. I love having them back involved in college
Not
football.
anymore. That's not your obsession anymore.
No. I flipped to you. I like USC a little bit. No, I'm kidding. I do. I like Michigan being back involved in the playoff discussion, just because I like competition for the typical like Ohio States of the world that just kind of have no competition in the Big Ten. So I like having Michigan involved. Now, Michigan being ranked like in the top 3, I look at how they win their games and just kind of like how they have no passing game. It's like, this is not something that's sustainable after
And
this game.
now you get some injuries at running back. I don't know if anything came out, but I know Corum or whatever his name
Yeah,
is
he's dinged
hurting
up.
out. So yeah,
Well,
it
and
sucks.
Ohio
It
State's got
sucks.
some injuries too. So
It
that'll be
sucks that
interesting.
we have gotten to the point of the season where it's Ohio State, Michigan, because it's like, where did it go? This season feels like it's been the longest and like most weird, but also like I feel like we were at the Florida State game not that long ago.
Dude, I really feel like we have the game on Saturday. And, like, it's so exciting that Sunday is still part of the day. Like, I'm still kinda just, like, in that daze of, like, I haven't watched every video yet. I still need to, like, soak in more coverage of what happened in the game. And then Monday happens, and you're just kinda like, "Oh, we'll do the podcast," and then Tuesday, you watch LSU Gold sometimes, and then the next
Maybe not so much anymore,
and
but
then
that's
Wednesday
a
hits, and you're just like, "Oh shit, it's Saturday's around the corner," and that's just kind of been how it is all season. So that's pretty. Yeah, you're right, dude. Like this season has flown by. It's Ohio State, Michigan. This is exactly what everyone dreamt of. Top 3 matchup. I don't know what they're not 2, right? It's Georgia. It's Ohio 2 and 3. Is
yeah,
that
it should be
really?
2-3.
Yeah, a top 3 matchup. It should be really good. I mean, Ohio State's been a team that outside of Michigan, outside of Georgia, has been the mainstay. Georgia and Ohio State have been the top 2 teams, pretty much unwavering. So I'm anxious to see them against a Michigan team that I feel is beatable. That is not a complete package, a complete team. Could an upset happen? Absolutely. They're not perfect. They have injuries
Yeah.
too. They have weaknesses. Their wide receiver core is a little depleted, but
Let us in this fucking dice roll. Let us in
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. That's
because
the thing. Any given
there's
Saturday,
just
something can happen, dude.
there's just no dominant forces. There's no all of these games are a coin flip. We were talking before we fired up the podcast. I sit here and watch Kentucky play Georgia, and I get that like your teams play down, whatever. You're going to see a different Georgia in the Georgia Dome conference championship, but it's like I just watched that and I say, why couldn't LSU beat that team? And that team's the cream of the crop. And I get that might, and you got to beat Texas A&M first, whatever. But I think there's a possibility Georgia comes in and like is like a little too much for LSU, but I also watch them just like we're going to be in this game. We're going to have the ball with a chance to win this game.
There's always a chance, and it's so hard to go undefeated ever, especially in the SEC. So I don't expect Georgia to falter against Georgia Tech. Their best bet of stumbling before this playoff picture obviously is LSU. And if I'm Georgia, I'm sitting back and I'm concerned. I'm nervous. I'm not going into the game thinking like we're going to roll them and we're just going to skip into the playoffs. There's a chance that LSU makes things interesting. And I think that's why people are starting to pay attention finally to LSU as, hey, wait a minute, like they do have 2 losses, but this is a team that could beat Georgia. I think the whole they have no shot, had a lot to do with why are we wasting our time? They're not beating Georgia. I think people are understanding like there is a possibility on any given Saturday that LSU has a chance to beat you, no matter who they're playing. So
I
Interesting.
think at some point the committee is going to say LSU has 1.5 losses. I think they're going to try to give us a half loss for the Florida State.
A half loss.
I'm just telling you that the way these dudes talk and they just like circle round around, they're like TCU gets behind in too many games. And then like a week later, they're like, we just love TCU's grit coming back late in games.
Resilient.
At some point, they're gonna be like, Florida State's playing great. LSU,
Pretty
first
much
game
beat him.
ever, practically won. We're just gonna have like it's almost like a half loss at this point. Like I'm just,
Yeah. Should be
I
interesting. It's gonna be dicey. It'll be dicey.
um
I'm anxious to
anything
see it.
Anything from the UAB game?
Yeah,
Derek
Derek
Davis.
Davis.
I knew
Derek
you were running
Davis
to
is a
go
running
there.
back, dude. Kind of out of nowhere. I mean, how about Tyler Taylor, UAB defensive end? Like, what the hell? Where the fuck has this kid been? I
I
thought he
know.
died long ago. That was very interesting. Wasn't he the one that like jacked a gas station or a bank or something?
Oh, allegedly,
He was allegedly the
allegedly,
getaway driver in a burglary, and we just never heard from him again. But
never.
apparently he's been at UAB and he got fat. He's a DN now. So that's interesting. No, the game was tight, dude. I thought Noah Kane, interesting enough, was a solid running back. And like we mentioned before the podcast, like, do we just have Deuce McAllister chilling on the sideline and like we're saving this dude for like the back half of the season?
I
Because
just
nothing he does is flashy, but for some reason he's just like a couple cuts and he just kind of drags people along for like 8 yards and he's
I
always scoring
just
touchdowns.
I keep having this vision of it being like round one of the playoffs, and Noah Kane's just chewing people, and they're like, "No, a fresh Noah Kane at the end of the year didn't get any carries at the beginning," and this dude is just like incredible, and like Brian Kelly said, not flashy at all, just kind of does his job, good in
But we
pass
have him returning
protection.
kicks. It's like they obviously see something. I
Let's
don't know.
not let's not go into special teams.
Like, why do we not
We're
have
having a
Derek
good
Davis
night.
returning kicks?
That
Like,
we
what
can't
are
do
we
that.
doing? What are we doing?
But
Oh man,
no,
it's very interesting.
I just keep thinking the whole all year we've been like Noah Kane's average, whatever, blah blah blah, and at the end of the year when everyone's like beat up and he's just the freshest dude on planet Earth, just getting 20 carries a game, it would be very funny and I would love it.
Well, listen, dude, he's gonna have to because Goodwin's out for the year,
Goodwin's out.
and then
Emory might as well be.
John Emery can't do anything. I
I
mean,
mean, not catching another significant snap this year.
and that's absolutely the consensus of the fan base and the consensus of you and I. I heard Moscona's take on it. Like, we don't have a choice. Like, I
Well,
feel, and like,
if yeah,
we're in a position where like Josh Williams is our bell cow. That's our guy. He's our best running back, and it's clear. We know that.
if they
Kane is
have the
coming
option to
around.
give it to Kane, they're gonna give it to Kane.
Yeah, absolutely. But Emery, like, he made the argument this is a fixable situation, and that fumbling is something that like can be fixed.
Just slide. Don't get tackled. Just slide.
The Emery situation, dude, I feel like it's just like Besh and Neighbors when it comes to like muffing the punt returns. It's like this is a very mental situation,
Yeah.
like because you can tell John, like you said, dude, it's so predictable. Like the minute he cuts it up the hole, and the minute there's like two defenders on him, you're like, that's great that he's hustling and he's carrying people, but there's no way he's holding on to this football. There's no
Well,
shot. Like,
bobbled snap, great job handing it off to Emery, and it was like all clean. And there was just no doubt in my mind that like we were not going to have the football the next play.
well, if it's raining, John shouldn't dress.
I
Like,
just
that's just how we need to do it. Like, John is not, if the ball's wet and it's raining, John's not dressing out.
we should just douse his forearms and be like
He has
the
that.
replacements where it just like it's just stuck to him.
He's got
I think
Kamara's tape everywhere. And it's like he's got the
just
Kamara arms and it
no
still doesn't
more
work.
no more handoffs. If we want to run some swing passes, if we want to get them the ball in space, like I'm all for it. But let's just no more handoffs.
And the thing that sucks about it is he always fumbles at the part of the carry that he is
It's
supposed to be good at.
unnecessary.
Well, like it's like he is finding his way through the hole, and you're just like, nice, like he's really good between the tackles. This is where he breaks it, and it's like, no, this is where he fumbles. Like that's what's frustrating is there's no breaking it anymore because when he starts to
And
break it, he's just like, here you go.
Every single one too, you're like, "No, his knee was down." You're like, "His knee wasn't fucking down."
No, and he never tries to get the ball. He's just so he's so defeated. He's just like, "Fuck my life," every
No,
time.
he's like,
No
there is
shot
a
I'm getting.
rule. The fumbler cannot become the fumblee. So, you can't recover your own fumble.
No, and
Um,
he's gotta pull the injury too. Like, if he fumbles like, the first one
I'm
that he got
mad.
hurt was it this game?
I think
I
it was
mixed
last
up. The
game.
last game, he fumbled, and, like, he stayed down. I was like, "Alright, well, that's typical. That's what's gonna happen here." And then he did it a couple more times the next week, but
It
whatever.
was it was nice to see Daniels go in and, play well and throw the ball and command the offense. After
Oh,
that
yeah.
Arkansas game, obviously, you could tell something was up. He didn't wanna cut it loose, but it was like, can he not play in the cold, wet ball, blah, 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 and I think he kind of answered those questions against UAB, where now I'm way more comfortable with the last game of the season against A&M in the elements and hopefully moving on to multiple dome environments.
Yes. I can't wait. Um,
E
the
ever
only
since you reminded me about, like, hey, Jaden Daniels on turf, it's all I've thought about. I can't
Yeah,
stop thinking about it.
I can't wait to
It's
see
like,
him in a
"Get
dome again.
get my guy, get my guy, get my guy on that turf."
Yeah, it's gonna be a game, dude. Like, he scrambled well against Florida State. Like, he was moving out of that pocket and booking it. What
And
I
scrambled way too much against UAB.
what I found interesting about what Jade how Jaden Daniels scrambles, he really favors the inside, and almost to a point of his demise at times. Like, I
Yeah.
get that, straight line, fastest point, it's fastest route, A and B,
You would
whatever.
think guys like him wanna
Can hit the
bubble
edge, yeah.
out.
He
Yeah,
doesn't ever wanna, and, like, but there's
I
plenty of
know.
times where I'm like, "Dude, there is way more green grass if you just cut around Campbell here," and, like, you decide to kinda wait and hit something up the middle, which a lot of the times it does work, and when it works,
Right.
it's like he's got more field to work with after he gets past the box, and I think that's why he does it, but when it doesn't work, it's, like, so frustrating, dude. You're
I
like,
know,
"Bro."
yeah, I completely agree. You because it's like my dumb brain of playing NCAA football my entire
Just
life.
wrap the edge,
And just fucking just get out of the pocket, buy
mhm,
yourself some time, and you
and
would
then cut
think
it
with
up.
yeah, you would think with Jaden Daniels' speed, he would, and like, "Oh, well, here, I'm one-on-one with a corner, let me juke this dude," but yeah, you're right, it's almost like he's, like, power, inside zoning some of these times where he's getting up the field, and yeah, it is weird.
And it looks good. Like, I mean, obviously, like, against Bama, it worked. He squeaked up the middle, and then boom, now you have so much more grass where you can make one move and be gone, where the sideline turns into another defender. So, like, I get the benefit, but yet, dude, that's a risky take when you go up the middle and you just get one big bear paw on you, and it's like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
it's a loss now, you know. But a lot of times he does get back to the line of scrimmage, and that's something that is overlooked is like when Jaden is in pressure and he kind of does his little happy feed, he does at least get back to the line a
Yeah.
lot of times, and it's
It's
not
not a
major
super negative.
losses.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's been good to see, and there's little subtle bright spots when Jaden Daniels does something not like flashy, and it's like, wait a minute, like this is not as bad as we think it is, and it kind of sets us up. Now, I would like to see this type of execution moving forward. Like that
Yeah.
that's I know it's UAB, it's a shitty team. We're supposed to look that way, but we were looking that way. Like we did look like we can execute. You fast forward to Texas A&M. I understand.
Can I ask first? I wanna know your
Yeah,
take about Martinez at center.
I loved it. I loved it.
I
I thought
figured you would.
listen, again, if you don't hear the O line being talked about, that's a great day. That's a great day. These guys did
He
their
seems
job.
big.
He seems very big. He looks good. He looks good at center. He was not getting pushed around. It's a good problem to have because Charles Turner is definitely somebody that's physically limited, in my opinion. But he's very consistent with his snaps. He's consistent with his fronts, and he understands blitz pickup. Now he might get fucking smashed back into the backfield, but he's picking the people up. Martinez looks better than I thought. And I also think that Bradford looked great
Yeah.
Saturday. Anthony Bradford has gotten so much better this season. He looks quick, like nimble on his feet. He's moving downfield with the blocks.
And
It's
Kelly had mentioned that a lot. A lot of times Bradford's name came up and he talked about how big of an good of an athlete he was. And me watching a little bit, I'm just like, yeah, he just looks kind of big. Like, yeah, maybe he's
Mhm.
athletic, but you're right, like these last few weeks, it's probably more just comfort in the line and what they're doing at the line. But he definitely plays more athletic now than he did a few weeks ago. Like it's freed up. He's just like getting in guys and stuff. It's been fun to watch, man. Like I'm not going to jinx it. I don't want to, knock on wood, knock on whatever, but like it's starting to feel like those offensive line problems are starting to be things that we don't worry about anymore.
Yeah, and that's a great place to be. And especially at the tail end of a season,
Yeah.
and that's typical of O-line is to get better as the season goes on. That's what you expect to see in a position group that has to play as a group and play as a unit. Obviously, they're gonna, mesh together, but sometimes that doesn't happen. And the fact that like this group is progressing together at a really good pace and they're young is just it's so comforting to know and at the
And
back
guys
end of
have
the day.
been really healthy. Obviously Dellinger coming back, but friend of the program Moscona asked Brian Kelly today about it, and just hearing like the professionalism of Brian Kelly, like explaining what goes into it's like, yeah, sure, there is some injury luck out there, and we've caught a few breaks of guys not getting injured, but we've told these guys and they've bought in that it's a 365-day process. It's a sports medicine, it's training, it's weight and conditioning, it's nutrition, it's everything. And
Mhm.
I think at some point in the press conference he said, whenever I got here at spring, we didn't know how to practice. And he's
Yeah.
like, now we're sitting here walking to the SEC championship game, and it's just like, give this dude a fucking Fortune 500. Let him go fix FTX. Like Brian Kelly could turn FTX back into the sponsor of all these stadiums and shit. Like give me this guy running whatever. I'll vote for him for president tomorrow.
I loved how realistic he was in the beginning and how blatantly clear. I remember that. I vividly
Well,
remember him being like, "We have to learn how to practice first before I can tell you anything about who our starting quarterback
well,
is. Like,
it's
don't
just
ask me
a
those type of questions."
it's just an upfront honesty with where we're at, so no one's surprised. Whereas, like, let's rewind the tapes 2 years to when Bo Pelini's defense is better than any Aranda's defense we've seen, like, the best defense we fucking had in camp, and then we just get the doors blown off every week. It's like,
Yeah.
we were just it was all bullshit, and it was all it was college football has turned so much into a business where it's like money. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Stoops is getting $9 million a year at Kentucky. They had to hold off
Unreal.
announcing it because they just lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got an
We're
extension.
getting yeah, we're
Nine
paying Brian
million.
Kelly 10, and this cat up in fucking Kentucky's getting 9.
I'll give him credit, like kudos, because you cannot announce that after losing to Vanderbilt. But like, anyway, back to the point. Like,
We got the coast of Georgia.
it's not this like, oh, my dad was the coach here for 35 years and now I take over the coach and we're a football family. Like
Yeah.
those days of college football are long, long gone. And these are businesses. And Brian Kelly runs this thing like a business where every other coach we've had since Nick Saban ran it like it was a fucking high school, like let's win one for the Gifford bullshit. And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, go hit the weights, bench press today, boys. I'm gonna go hit a Red Bull and bench press with you. It's like, no, we got the
No.
fucking manager up in the ivory tower, like mapping everything out. And I don't know, man. It's
It's a
what a fresh
full
air,
on
breath of fresh air.
it's a full on corporation, it's a production, it's a program, it's an operation. I mean, this is an operation where your operations president is your head coach,
And it's
and like
also honest. It's not like it's like, oh, behind closed doors and it's like all this bullshit. It's like everything is out in the open. Brian
'cause he's
Kelly
selling
tells
the
you what he's
program.
gonna
He's
do.
he's wanting people to know, like, "Listen, this isn't just me knowing X's and O's. This is me coming in and knowing that we have to gut our nutrition program. We have to go to class on time. We have to
Yeah.
do these things, and I'm gonna show you that, like, we're being held accountable to that. I'm gonna track their wind sprints. I'm gonna track how fast they're running on week 10 compared to week 4." Like,
And I'm
This
gonna show
thing,
them why. Everything is done for a purpose. And, you know, we go back we reference LSU Gold a lot, wish we could still watch it. You know who you are. Um,
he's gonna kill you.
I
He's
don't
gonna
care.
kill you.
I don't care. Um, uh everything is done with a purpose. He mentions like, yeah, you know, everyone's gotten faster this week and this everything. There's just so much emphasis on watching the things that he tells the team Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that he then references in the post game press conference and when he's talking to the team after. And it's just so cool to see. It's like we got so amped because Ed Orgeron brought a chain in or a rope and got everyone to
Yeah.
pull on one side. And it's just like, I'm so happy we're not in the gimmicky row the boat. Like, you know, you can lane whatever. We'll talk lane later. But it's just, I couldn't imagine LSU being in a better
Yeah.
spot than they are right now.
And the craziest part about all that is we were able to get through those days with some excitement. I mean, obviously 2019 was the most excitement we've ever had in our life watching LSU football, but we were able to do that because of the benefits LSU provides with their recruiting base. And like that's why
Yeah.
when it was announced Brian Kelly was our hire, it was like, guys, it's over. Like we literally have a guy in charge of such potential that even on our down years, like year one, we're competing for a playoff spot. Like
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now. Is like this is a rebuilding year, and we're number 5 going into the final week of the season. That's incredible.
I wasn't positive, and I sure wasn't positive post week one that this team was going to make a bowl.
I don't think
And
anyone was. I mean,
and to
and
just
that's not a slight on Brian Kelly because I figured this would take some time, and I
no,
did not.
I think he deserves more, and I'm sure he's been getting a lot of credit, but he could have easily said, "Well, we have holes everywhere, and you know, we got these freshmen coming in, and we're gonna be fine." But instead, he absolutely raided the portal and did it the right way of getting guys that he knew would be a culture fit for what he was trying to bring in. And I don't know, man. I just think it could have it was very easy, and I remember listening to one of the post games where the guy was, calling into Hanny and saying, like, "Oh, you gotta give him 3 years," and Hanny said, that's, like, not the deal anymore.
Mhm.
It used to be, "Well, I gotta get a full class of my freshmen to seniors, blah, blah." It's like, that's not the case anymore, and Brian Kelly could have easily said, "Well, you know, we didn't have help at safety. We were starting wide receivers at corner. You know, we started freshmen everywhere and some of them weren't ready, but instead he didn't and built a team that could compete in the SEC. And I think it's awesome. Everything is gravy from here.
We got Texas A&M.
After Texas A&M, like we beat down Texas
We've got
A&M.
Texas A&M, and I want to start by saying I sent this tweet out because I just wanted to get it out there early in the week. I didn't want to have to wait till we talked because I'm just tired of worrying and being fearful of Texas A&M because of their talent. Don't get my words twisted. I agree that they are filthy talent. Like they have filthy talent across the board. Um, it is the last game of the season. Like this team has had weeks upon weeks to quote unquote turn it on and decide that that talent is going to take over a game. Now,
Could barely
can
do it against UMass.
UMass. Now, listen, will they be motivated as hell? Is this their Super Bowl? Yes, it is. But motivation, we've seen this. We've seen this with Ed Orgeron for 2 straight seasons after 2019. No matter how much more talented you are, motivation can only go so far when your skill players are not getting developed, when you don't have trust in your play calling, when you don't have trust in your quarterback. You are not going to hang with this LSU football team for 4 quarters. You may hang with them talent alone for 2. You might be able to keep it close by halftime. But this Brian Kelly team on the verge of a playoff berth against this depleted Jimbo Fisher fraud squad is going to be crushed in the second half of this football game. I think now crushed. I think 10-14. I think Vegas has it right where I have us winning over 10 points.
I
It, I
think that I think the UAB game settled a lot of our worries about what a potential Texas A&M game could be. If LSU let UAB running back kind of run all over them, if they the offense looked sluggish again. Jaden Daniels wasn't really pulling the trigger, and then I think going into this A&M game, you worry and you look at the team like, oh, maybe they could take advantage of some of these things. And it's just like, I just don't see it. I can't.
How are they
I
going to
just
score for 4 quarters? How are they going to
they
score on this defense? Their offensive
they
line
can't
has
score.
been
They can't score on bad defenses.
atrocious all season, and they just lost 2 starters again. Like, they don't have
Yeah,
any bodies. Half of their team is quit, one mentally, the other half is physically quit. Like,
in the
these
portal.
in the portal, like, this is the last game of the season. They are not going to overcome the adversity. If LSU comes
And
out and scores first, it's going to be over quick.
and
Don't
and
let
we
them
say
hang.
last game of the season, as in you go in and clean out your locker room at A&M on Sunday because like you don't have a bowl game. You're not
No.
preparing for anything. You're going home.
They're gonna be
Well,
dirty as sin, and they're gonna quit. That's what's gonna happen, is they're gonna play very physical, they're gonna be
talk a lot of
chippy,
shit.
talk a lot of shit, they're gonna try to influence some penalties. They have nothing to play for. We have everything in front of us.
Imagining like this A&M team going out and scoring enough points on a BJ Ojolari, Harold Perkins defense is just like I'll pay to see it. Like you're gonna have to show it to me because I just don't see it. And like you said, I mean, we've talked about it week in and week out. We'll get to everyone's favorite segment of what it would be like with Mason Smith on this team.
We're gonna be screaming that against Georgia.
Yeah, that's gonna be the big one. We're cooking up some tweets for that one, but I just don't see it, man. I don't see how they're gonna be able to put it together. LSU is the most probably the most conditioned team in the country. It's the best conditioned team.
They're so
I just
disciplined. They're focused. Like, they are
and
like, all season the theme has been this team always fights till the very end, and they are focused at the task at hand. That's what we need to beat A&M. Stay focused and finish the job.
well,
Finish
and
the job.
this team's so extremely confident. I mean, the Florida State game is a different realm in
Different,
these
yeah.
kids' mind. Like they don't think of themselves as a two-loss team that lost to Florida State. I promise you, they wish they could play Tennessee again. And I'm not saying that maybe obviously Hooker out, but maybe Tennessee would beat LSU 10 times out of 10 if they played. I don't know. I don't care. I'm saying in that locker room, those guys think that they would beat Tennessee if they played them 1,000 times. And it's like that's gonna carry this team a little bit. If Jaden Daniels gets a little magic and gets hot early in these next couple games, it's like, look out.
Oh, we're
There's
gonna
no
bully.
reason he couldn't do what Caleb Williams is doing.
They're gonna bully A&M. I think it's Brian Kelly talked about, we have a very familiar opponent coming up with A&M, and this is a team that these kids in this locker room are very familiar with and have been, waiting to go for a while against this team. I think Brian Kelly is going to play the emotional card this week. I think it's going to be not only buckle up and execute the game plan and keep it about us, but also, like, let's prove to the world and let's prove to A&M, like, you don't hold a candle to what this
Yeah.
program is building right now. Doesn't matter how many 5 stars you're going to buy. That's not what counts. Like, what counts is getting those players and developing them. And you have not done that. I have. And this is what it looks like at the end of the season. I don't give a damn what you did against Bama on October 8th, because ever since that day that you lost, by the way, like, let's remember, like, you lost the game. I know you had a chance to win, but you still lost the game. And Bryce Young did not play that whole game. But you have gone downhill since then. Since that same day, LSU has been nothing but stellar since that time in October. So
And
different
you know,
trajectories.
it doesn't matter, but like Jimbo shows up to his press conference in a sweater that doesn't have any A&M logos on it, looking like he's hadn't shaved in a month or 2 weeks, been on a
He's a
bender
booze
at the
hound.
bar. It just and Brian Kelly comes in looking like he's going to church after, and it's just like, what a
Probably is.
difference. And the amount of times I've had to fucking swat away the people that like wanted the Jimbo Fishers and like thought that Jimbo Fisher was like the only answer for
2015,
LSU.
2015, I liked the Jimbo Fisher discussion.
And
I
it's
know you
just
never
like
did. I'm not
uh,
saying that you were ever a part of that. Kudos to you. But I was part of it in 2015. I think Jimbo at one point was the elite offensive coordinator, play caller, it is like a decade too late. Like it's over. Jimbo is no longer.
Yeah, when, like, Oregon was the only one running, like, the offense that, like, everyone runs now, yeah,
Yeah,
Jimbo
with
was
like
fine.
traditional like pro style offense, like in college football,
And once
he
again,
could
I think it's coming back. I think, like, if Jimbo went all in on, like, we're just gonna power run and, throw our tight end or our route tree that hadn't changed in 4 decades, I don't know, it's just watching
like
someone
Denbrock.
that's, like, completely given up and just, like, doesn't care and looks like he just wants to be fired to get paid out, to looking at our press conference of Brian Kelly, just, like, honesty and, like, just so excited to be there and hungry, and I don't know, it's just
It's crazy to think about we don't really know what the hell's going on week to week. We really don't. Like we can sit here and be like as the weeks goes on, we know the potential we have. Like obviously we're in the SEC championship, but like a couple weeks ago it was if this happens, we have a chance to represent the West. And like boom, that happens. Now we're in the SEC championship. Like there's so many unknowns though. Like okay, you beat Georgia, you're probably in the playoffs, right? Does Jaden Daniels come back? If like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Like I thought Jaden Daniels was one and done if he had a decent season. Now we're talking about him leading this team to the playoffs. If he doesn't come back, you have Walker Howard waiting in the wings. But what happens if he does come back? Are you looking at like a Desmond Ritter 2.0 and this LSU team is probably ranked in the top 5 going into the year and you open up with a beatdown against Florida State and then you just have like I don't know, dude. Like, there's so many different scenarios that are about to happen. I just don't like. It's so hard to call what's about to happen. All I know is that we're beating the shit out of Texas A&M.
yeah,
Thank
I
you, William.
shout out William. I think I'll be shocked if Jaden Daniels goes to the NFL. I think Jaden Daniels is coming back next year. I think him and Caleb Williams are gonna be the favorites for the Heisman. LSU is gonna be pumped up a lot. LSU is gonna have a lot returning. They're probably gonna have to dig into the portal some. They're probably gonna have to play more freshmen, but yeah, I
Drake May is
mean,
going to have like a suck fest as well. Don't forget about
yeah.
him.
Yeah, but, dude, they're just I mean, we can throw
Listen,
whatever
I know.
a we can roll whatever ACC guy you want out there. If they don't play at Clemson, they're just not gonna end up winning it. Um, and I don't know, Jane Daniels probably won't end up winning it. I just think he's coming back next year, and I think Walker Howard is gonna be your, like, red shirt sophomore starter year 3.
How comforting is that going to be? Like if Jaden, if something happens to him, it's like that's fine. We got Walker Howard jumping back in there. Like it's just such a solid depth chart to have if Jaden does come back. Pretty incredible to even think
Jane
about.
Daniels can win the Heisman this year.
He has a chance. He's got odds. I mean, like
He would have to
there's a chance. I mean, I already put the ticket in, but that was a couple weeks ago, and now like the odds have gotten better. I'm just like, damn it,
oh, fuck.
not
Um
doubling down.
No, I don't think he will. I think, Caleb Williams has put up some ridiculous numbers. They have obviously Notre Dame this week, and I think it's Oregon. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah,
Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. I don't know how hurt Bo Nix is, but Oregon can definitely beat USC.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that. I think it's Stroud. If Stroud puts on a big performance against Michigan, I think it's easy for them to kind of like be like, yeah, no one's really stood out other than Caleb and
Yeah.
Stroud, but
The
Stroud's like
Stroud
carried it the whole
Stroud could also
season.
throw for like 112 and 1 touchdown against Michigan.
Right, right. That yeah, I mean, dude, it's wide open. I mean, and then
It's weird.
it's a
This feels
weird
like
playoff.
maybe
It's a
it's just
weird
because
Heisman race. Yeah,
it's weird play everything. Like, this is the most open year of college football that
because
I can
Bama's
remember
out,
because Bama's out, Clemson's
Clemson,
out, like, it
hmm
just
and it's
I
awesome.
don't know.
It's so refreshing to not have Alabama just in your face the entire time, every
And
single week.
you know what would suck is if it was a 12-team playoff, guess who would be ranked 10?
Yeah, yeah, no,
That's
exactly.
kinda what sucks. That's kinda what sucks.
It
Like,
does. It's bittersweet. You gotta beat them. You gotta have them lose a couple games for them to be out of it, and
I'm
that's the only
honestly
way if it's a
I
14 playoff.
I'm ready for Texas and OU to get in and USC and UCLA to go to like, let's have the
Big power
fun with the
conferences.
mega conferences. Let's do some weird shit with streaming games and, like, different coverages. Like, I'm just ready for the change. Like, at some
I'm
point,
ready
that
for the
change is
change
coming.
because it's comforting knowing you got a fucking president running your show. You know, like this dude, I don't care what scenario we're in or what pod we're placed in. I'm very comfortable knowing that like he'll figure it out. He'll figure out the best way to get an advantage with whatever matchups we're presented with. And it's going to go on with recruiting, it's going to go on with player development, with execution on the field, X's and O's. We're in a good spot. We're in a very good spot as LSU fans. Now, are we going to, is there going to be dynasties built like Bama has seen from the past decade? I don't think that type of run is possible anymore.
You'll
Just with
see
the,
more Tennessees. You'll see
yeah,
more of a transfer quarterback ending up in a perfect, beautiful spot and the team running and everyone comparing them to 2019 LSU, and we'll see what happens to them.
right. Flash in the pan type teams are gonna be in the playoffs and be in the finals and stuff like that, and that's gonna be exciting to watch. There's gonna be a
And
little bit more juice.
wherever Lane Kiffin ends up, whether it's Alabama, Auburn, Texas, Oklahoma, wherever it is, it's like I'm still so much more comfortable in what LSU is gonna be doing over the next decade than anyone else.
What are the updates there with Lane? I know he put it to rest, quote unquote, by calling out the media member that said he's leaving, and then he was it was reported that he met with the team today to emphasize that he will be back for the 2023 season.
Yeah, I mean, that means nothing to me. Like, if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
whatever say it, good luck. Like, there,
What else is he
I,
supposed to do?
I'm not gonna hold it against Lane if on Friday after the Egg Bowl, it's like Lane Kiffin has taken a different job. It's like we're just gonna have to see. I mean, there's
Is
really
this
only a couple
does he
options.
stay to win in the Egg Bowl?
Say that again.
Is this just almost guarantee Mike Leach is going to beat Ole Miss?
I didn't watch a ton of the Ole Miss Arkansas
Yeah,
game to really like tell
they
you
look
that
checked out.
they
They're checked
gave
out.
up and died. It sure looked like watching some Gamecast and looking at some stuff. They rolled over and died, but
But it's the post Bama or no. They didn't have Bama before. Never mind.
I don't remember their schedule now.
Was it the post Bama?
They played us, Bama, then Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the post Bama effect, and they had to
I
go
think
up to
it'll
the
be a
cold
competitive
Arkansas.
game. I think the game is probably going to suck and everyone's going to be like, "Damn, I wish we had a better Egg Bowl, but at least it's close." I don't know. I don't know. The Egg Bowl always seems to let me down.
Yeah, it's big for Mississippians, and that's about it.
Good for them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think Lane could definitely go to Auburn. I think Lane could still go to Texas A&M.
Yeah,
I
I think
still think
A&M
I
is
still
still
think it's
not off the
possible.
table.
Yeah, I still think it's possible we find out as we're watching our game that Jimbo is going to be relieved of his duties, and then maybe they'll carry him off on his shoulders like they did to Les. Imagine the players going to fight for like Jimbo to keep his job.
No one's fighting
Imagine it.
for Jimbo.
Imagine
No,
it. Think about it.
because no one went there for Jimbo. That's the difference.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
they're also like, I can do whatever the fuck I want, and this dude would probably just get fired next year.
yeah, dude, I don't know. It's a pretty interesting situation. Like what I- like how many of those guys just went for their like 500K? You know what I mean? Like I know most of them, but at the same
Me?
time like yeah, you do that, but you're also in a losing program. So like you're not putting your talents on display. No one's going to fucking draft you in the first round because you were a 5-star. You
The
know, like
portal's gonna be wild.
Portal's going to be insane after we beat A&M. HC2, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but if this team were to make it to the national championship and end up winning, which team do you end up loving more? 19 full of studs or 22 full of plug and plays? I mean, dude, that's a scenario, that's a question that is going to take some thought. I mean,
I mean, the
19,
Joe Burrow stuff was so fun. I think like I would love this team more because of like it wasn't that, hey, we have two of the top wide receivers in all of football. All the football. We have a top quarterback in all of football. You know, it's like obviously that was great and fun, and it was really cool to get behind Ed's rah-rah bullshit for a year. But
it's a
this
different type
team,
of love, dude. It's a different type of excitement. Like you're saying, the fireworks being so much better than everybody in 19 was a feeling of like validity, just like
yeah.
yes, like we finally show people like what Louisiana talent can do when we have a Heisman quarterback and when we have a really good OC. It was more of a I told you so type of feeling of like a proud moment where if 22
I
ends up
was
winning a national
also
championship.
2019. I spent most of the year just fucking terrified that we were going to lose one game or Burrow was going to get hurt, and this like incredible meeting of the minds of everything perfect is just going to end up kind of as Tennessee sitting here now, where it's like, holy shit, we have the best team ever, to like, oh fuck, we're
Yeah.
not even going to get to the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, and exactly. There was a little bit of that nervousness of the targets on our back from week 1. You know, like this is Burrow and company. The minute we beat Texas, it was kind of like, okay, that they're a contender and we have to knock off LSU with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Joe Burrow. Like it's a very dominant football team. This team, on the other hand, it's very well documented of the ebbs and flows of the season, but just the unexpectedness of us just being a contender at the last week of the season, being ranked number 5 going into the A&M game, under a makeshift transfer team with a first-year coach in Brian Kelly, it's a type of satisfaction that goes beyond this season, and I think that's the only way I can put it, is like, it's not about this team. I feel like 22 is a
It's how appreciative you are that this is the foundation that
yeah,
the culture is set on. I
exactly.
100% agree.
It's
It's
like
like I couldn't
confirmation of like, this is what we have to look forward to. Now I'm so much more relieved. Like that's what
like,
this year is.
these are the guys this is the team that's molding the leaders of the next team, the Will Campbells, the Walker Howard. Like these are the guys, BJ Ojulari and all these guys holding people accountable and showing the young guys like what it takes to be able to be a leader and to do these things and lead by example. That's like what I really like and respect about these teams. This team could have easily just been like, yeah, fuck this dude, this nerdy guy from
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
And some of them did.
I'm out of here in 8 months. Like, what do we do? They didn't. Everyone bought in, and like, look where it got you. And it's like the foundation for this decade. I texted you today. I'm sure there's going to be a point where we're going to be tired of Brian Kelly and frustrated and saying like this stuff's going on deaf ears. But like the foundation of what this program is going to be over the next 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years is as good as anywhere in the country. And I say that with Alabama in mind. I say that with USC, Ohio State. I say it with
Georgia.
every
Yeah.
team in the country in mind. Our foundation is going to be as good as anyone's.
I agree. I definitely think we're in the conversation from here on out because we found our guy, we found our general, and that's kind of the best way to put it. Is it's not comparing the two teams. You know, it's based off of a national championship, and like this is a hypothetical. If you win the national championship, comparing the two teams is just it's not fair because it's based off of one is just based off of excitement, like the excitement of beating the shit out of everybody and being able to beat your chest is something that's unrivaled. Like I don't think we're ever going to feel that type of feeling again,
Mhm.
because we didn't have it for so long. I feel like now if you win the national championship with this team, it's like, man, I can't wait to see what the future holds because we're going to get more of that excitement, and it's going to be normal. It's going to, but like you said, dude, having this crowd as laying the foundation and not the guys, and I love them to death. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Heisman, every award possible for that team, but it left a taste of like, we deserve this moving forward and we're just going to show up. And like
Mhm.
that, like everyone thought, like Eli Ricks and like that whole crew, they thought that the Eric Gilberts, like you can just show up at LSU and you're just going to win because of who you are and what you did in high school. All of that had to do with Ed Orgeron's culture, but that's the difference in this year's squad. If this year's squad wins a national championship, you have leaders that are going to lay a foundation of a culture and of expectations that it's not just going to be a quick little flash in the pan 1 year deal.
Well, and imagine you know, you would have to go into the record books and look, but imagine the amount of returning guys off of that team too. It's like, you know,
Mhm.
one of the biggest problems with the 2019 team that it was a mass exodus. Literally everyone was
Yes.
gone and there was no one that stuck around. You didn't even get to keep a guy like Patrick Queen who could have possibly been that alpha male to keep things around. And this year, you're just going to have so many guys, like so many guys you're going to see for the next couple of years. Harold Perkins being one of them. I don't know if Harold Perkins is a going to ever be, you know, the vocal leader or anything of this team, but he's going to be a damn good recruiting tactic, a recruiting pitch. Like,
Oh,
hey,
man.
come play
He's
with
gonna
this
be
guy,
everywhere.
or hey, be the next get this guy. Like
Play next to this guy. He's got 2 more seasons.
the
Like
brand, it's weird. It's weird, man. Like I thought Ed Orgeron would be the one that turned LSU to the cool brand, and he did. I mean, you still see people gritty in NFL games and in college games. That was because LSU, the brand reaches to a lot
I
of
did
people.
think about that the other day. Just like what we did in 19 was just
A
so
cultural
unparalleled.
impact on sports.
Yeah, and like I was thinking about that the other day, just watching like some NFL game, someone doing the gritty, or maybe it was like an All-State commercial. Whatever it was just like, that's LSU 2019. Like, that's
I
because of
know.
Justin Jefferson.
Get the
That's
gap,
amazing.
like,
Yeah.
that team had cultural relevance for sure,
Mhm.
and, you know, Harold Perkins is gonna be one of those guys. He's a household name. If he's not now, he will be by the time we kick off next year.
I was thinking about Harold Perkins and his story about how he was a baby during Katrina, because I watched some of that on YouTube. I was like, was he a Katrina baby? Like, was he even alive? He was. He was young, but he was alive. And it was '05 when they left New Orleans, obviously, and moved to Texas. But thinking about like that kid in '05 and knowing who LSU was in '05, like how we were so dominant, like LSU in '05,
Yeah.
2 years removed from, a national championship. That's when Les was still in camouflage. We thought he was like a legit coach his first 2 seasons or first year,
The
for a
first
little
time
while
the first time, I think it was Arizona State that he put that Britney Spears
with Britney
headset
Spears.
on, I was like, "God, we're fucked, like, this is not our guy." And I was,
But
like, 12, and I knew, like, at that point, it was over.
it's just wild to think about, like, the linebackers that we had in '05, and we've been dreaming of, like, man, it'd be nice to go back to those early 2000s, like, dominant teams year after year after year, and it's like, you get a kid that was a baby at that time coming back home, is now the face of this program wearing number 40 and just bringing back that like Louisiana roots tradition of the best players stay in state. The best players come to LSU and they represent the boot. And now we have a program that is going to be so much more sustainable that it's not an argument. It's not a
I
battle of like, oh, should I stay or should I go? It's like if you don't stay, like you're a dumbass. Like good, like if you pass up this limited time ticket to be a part of the Brian Kelly era at LSU, if you're a player coming out of Louisiana and you have the option to play for Brian Kelly at LSU and you choose to go elsewhere, I don't feel bad for you, dude. Like you
Well, we talked
made your
about
bet,
it
bro.
we talked about it with a couple people signing or committing after the Bama game, like, it is 20, well, you know, maybe that you can get a couple more in a season, whatever, but there's 25 golden tickets that
Mhm.
Frank and company pass around each year, and it's like, if you get offered one, you should try to snatch it up, and, yeah, I don't know, I just think,
We got another commitment
I think
from
we have the
Golden
best
Easter
recruiting
Day.
p I think we have the best recruiting pitch in the country right now.
We
It's like,
do,
"Look
and
look
it's
what we're
trendy.
building, we play freshmen, I don't give a shit, you know, we're gonna play you if you can learn the playbook and if you're good enough," like,
You
I
play
just think
freshman,
we
you play early, and you win. There's a difference between playing early and being promised that you're like the foundation of the future and losing, or being promised that you're the foundation of the future and you're winning now. Like that's an enormous recruiting pitch that not a lot of people can do. Wallace Foster, defensive back from Warren Easton, commits to LSU for the 2024 cycle. Pretty interesting little discussion on his news feed after he posted that. It was on his Instagram. You had Desmond Ricks. I think it's Desmond. Is it Desmond Ricks? Whatever his name is. The Ricks
Yes.
kid, not Elias.
Not him.
Not Elias Ricks.
He's still getting blocked by Brian Thomas.
Yeah, you got Ricks, You had the Collins kid, who's a 5-star defensive end for that next class as well. You had Jacoby Matthews, a current Texas
Texas
A&M
A&M.
5-star safety, give the Purple Hearts and like a, I don't know, some type of symbol to a 2024 defensive back commit for LSU the week he's playing that team. Like, what does that tell you?
The
Like,
signs.
yeah, like one, it tells you like that team's not focused. Like they don't give a shit about anything right now, and they're looking at who's committing to their rival schools that they used to be committed to at one time. So I think Jacoby Matthews is somebody that you're going to look at in the portal immediately. I think I want to discuss that real quick. The portal situation. It's been asked to Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly has been very clear. Like, we are well aware that the portal is going to be flooded with options,
Open season.
but it's going to take a kid that is in line in alignment with our culture and what we want to do. I don't care how talented they are. If they are not in alignment with what we want to do here, I don't want you on this roster. I don't care what star you are. I do not want you part of this team if you are not bought into what you have to do every day to be a part of this culture.
Well, it's we take very seriously our locker room and the culture of our locker room. Just because
Mhm.
you can catch passes, we can find people in Louisiana that can catch passes. We can find
Exactly.
people to do things. You have to be that perfect fit. And that's what I think has been impressive, obviously, with LSU, but give credit to Lincoln and USC because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure on this podcast I was saying, well, this will go like poorly. You know, these guys will all want to live the LA lifestyle, whatever. I thought like, oh, well, good on both of them for kind of just diving into the portal and getting guys that fit and work and do what they do.
Yeah, no, you got to give credit to Lincoln Riley. I think Lincoln and USC have been very impressive. I've always thought Caleb Williams is a heck of a quarterback. He's a little eccentric. He's a little out there, kind of an oddball, but he's talented. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
good quarterback. I mean, he reminds me of just like a shortstop out there. He's kind of a Bryce Young esque player, but with a little bit more animation and a little more aggression there. Also does stupid shit. So, I don't like Caleb Williams is definitely the type of guy that is gonna win a Heisman one day, could win a Heisman, but at the same time, like just totally throw like 3 pick sixes in one game and just be like, wow, like what are you trying to do? Just doesn't really I don't know. There's something about Caleb Williams that it's not all there. Like he's really good, but it's not like the complete package.
I would like to see them play like a Georgia or an LSU because and Jaden Daniels is the same way, so maybe it would be the same. But so many times I feel like I watch these games and these defensive ends like have them, just literally
Mhm.
have them, and the next thing you know, Caleb Williams is gone. And like I said, Daniels does that shit too, and some of these quarterbacks are special. But sometimes I'm just like, is this because the Utah DNs kind of suck? Is this because the UCLA guys
Yeah,
like okay? And like I don't
absolutely.
know. I
But
would
they
be
try to do
interested
too
to
much
see.
sometimes. Like watching that UCLA game, there was a couple plays where like Caleb Williams did not have to try to do anything crazy. Like he took it down the sideline, and then right when he got to the line of scrimmage, he like fucking hummed it to the sideline to the tight end. And it
Yes,
was
that's
just
fine.
like, dude, just run, just go
Yeah,
straight. Like it was just stuff like that where they don't, and I think Jaden's gotten better at it, but like you don't have to have a highlight. Just like get the yards, and those yards with your ability to run the football are going to open up so much more. I don't know. It's just they're not mature enough just yet. That's why I think Jaden Daniels coming back for another year would be phenomenal for his development. I think he
oh yeah,
could really. I mean, we've seen him progress this season. Imagine another season of this. I mean, good things ahead, man.
I
Deshaun
know.
Womack
Can't
moves
wait.
up to a 5-star. One of our defensive ends that's been committed for a long time. I think that dude's going to play immediately. Like that's who's going to walk in and replace a defensive end spot.
Yeah, it seems like LSU's doing a great job recruiting this cycle, and you're gonna see, like you did with this, like guys like Will Campbell and Harold Perkins, you're gonna see guys pretty much immediately come in and play. Still
Early
a few
on,
people
2024 class is number one right now.
Still a few people in the chat. Get your questions in. I think we're gonna wrap this up pretty quick. I just didn't
Mhm.
know. Do you wanna any Matt House talk?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Brian Kelly's not concerned, and he's kind of proud. Like, that's my guy. Like, I'm not going to hold him back from getting a better opportunity, but at the same time, like, dude's happy. I haven't had any any indication or thought that he's leaving. Also, like, who gives a shit? I give a shit. Like, Matt House is awesome. Protect this house. Don't get me wrong, but Brian Kelly will find a replacement. Like you mentioned last week, this is the same motherfucker that went out and got Marcus Freeman. Like,
Yeah,
we're
he's made 2
okay.
of the better defensive coordinator hires in the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know. I just seeing him in the press conference just be like, "No, I'm not worried about that. That's the least of my concerns." And it's just like,
Yeah.
I just can't believe how much I like Brian Kelly, and I was watching Harold Perkins' commitment video with, like, Josh Pate and the 247 guys today, and Harold Perkins had talked about he's like, "Yeah, I thought Brian Kelly was dull and boring," but he's like, "He's the exact opposite, like, of just love talking to him." And they went back to the studio guys, and they're talking about it, and one of the guys is like, "Yeah, I think it's just because he was at Notre Dame, but Brian Kelly is, like, the most open, personable coach you'll find, like, anytime you're around their program, he offers you more access than any coach." And he's like, I think people are definitely going to start seeing that with him more in the eye at LSU. And it was just funny because it's like I had the same thoughts. Like I thought we were getting this like, you know, scowling face dude who was just going to be piss and moan and bitch at the pretty much Jimbo,
Yeah.
grab your quarterback by the face mask and get in his ass. And it's just been so far the opposite and so perfectly done.
Yeah, I always knew he'd be a great coach for us. Like, I thought that the alignment was gonna be like, it was good. It was a
I
good
was
fit.
I was a little worried people wouldn't players wouldn't buy in.
Yeah,
I was.
I did not. I'm with you though when it comes to like his attitude and approach and his coaching style. I was not familiar with how open he is and like
And I
how
think he's
jovial
adapted
and
some
fun.
to how
Like,
the
it's
game's changed. You
yeah,
can't you
he's
can't make a
happy.
dude run 1,000 laps anymore because, you just there's different it's different than it used to be.
Well, and I think even if he still does that, I feel like he does it in a way like the kids are like, "Yeah, I deserve this." Like,
Yeah.
I am part of this process and this alignment, and I have not gone to class. Like, I do deserve to run these sprints. Where, like, in the past, you had people that were just so scatterbrained, where it's like you can't just be a Bo Pelini and like pop off and be like grabbing face masks and making them
Yeah.
run when you are not proving that like your system works. And I think that's why people are like falling in line with Brian Kelly, especially on this team. It's like we're willing to do the little things because obviously it works. So,
Right.
prove
Right.
it to me and
We
we'll
trust
respect you.
we trusted you, we bought in and look what the benefits, look what the rewards have been. So I think we're gonna keep trusting you.
Exactly. And then you get that team, the bulk, which the majority of this team is coming back, and then you get like a top 3 class coming in, those kids are gonna now be on board with like the current roster will be on board with Brian Kelly. It's not just gonna be Brian Kelly, like, blindly trust me, I
Yeah.
promise you this will work. It's like,
It's
no, you've
business
got
as
like
usual.
60 other guys that are like, no, fucking fall in line because this shit works. Like, you're not gonna have freshmen dicking around. They're gonna be buying in from week 1.
Well, and Brian Kelly gave Mike Jones a shout out today, which I feel like is well deserved. It's a guy who's continued to be a
Yeah.
leader on this team when
Doesn't even
multiple,
play.
his playing time just keeps getting eaten up by other players. And instead of being a bad teammate or not showing up to practice on time, not being accountable. He's still a leader on this team, and I think that shows just like how much everyone. And obviously, I'm sure that there's people that are like, "Man, fuck Brian Kelly. I'm ready to get out of here once this portal opens up." And I think we're okay with that. Like, I think we're
Yeah.
okay with the people that will want to do that. I'm not saying it's 100% happy family in there, but it's
No,
just
they get donuts and they tell each other they love them. I don't know what day that is. Tuesday's donut day, whatever it is,
well,
but
and Thursday, I'm sure a lot of teams do this. This isn't a Brian Kelly thing, but he was like, "Yeah, we'll practice in the morning, and then we'll all have dinner, Thanksgiving dinner together. Coaches' families and stuff will come, and we'll, be together, and then leave on Friday." And it's like he's already built a culture where like all these guys do want to be around each other, and
Mhm.
like they are a family, and they are brother, and he preaches brotherhood and what it means, and he leads by example, and they all do it. And I
What
don't
do you
know,
think
man.
A&M's doing on Thursday? I mean, they're kicking kids off of teams for wearing sleeves.
Yeah, I mean, dude, they're probably starting the night off with a couple bowls. Um, it's a free for
Couple
all. It's a free for all.
TikToks.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
let's
we'll see. There, I don't think their preparation on Thanksgiving week is going to come anywhere near what Brian Kelly is doing to prepare this team for the final game of the regular
and
season.
maybe we'll see what happens. I could be wrong, but forever we dreaded this like post Thanksgiving game of like, man, we always just are completely lost and sluggish. And it's like I don't have that worry with this team. I think they're
Everybody
going
else
in
is
to
going to
take care of
be
business.
everybody else will be, refreshing the coaches changes board. We're going to be talking about how we're playing Georgia the following
I
week in the SEC championship.
I can't stop thinking about our coaching staff and thinking about like it's maybe someone gets a better job, maybe somebody gets hired as a
Yeah, who
coordinator
leaves?
somewhere. Who leaves? I mean, Polian's not leaving. We know
No,
that. James
hand,
is locked
hand
up.
to the king.
To the king. We know Polian's not
But
going
maybe
anywhere.
maybe like maybe Kelly respectfully tells Polian like your services are needed elsewhere.
I'm
Like
gonna
we
have to cut your finger off. You
yeah,
can keep your job,
yeah,
but
like
you lose a finger.
you're with me, but you're not doing special teams ever again, my friend. Ever again. Or
We're
like get
gonna
him some help, dude. Like let him keep his little title, but like
What's
let's get one
Bradley
of
Dale
these.
Pivotal up to?
Yeah, get somebody
Pick
else
him
in there
up.
to fucking do it because we don't know what the fuck's going on special teams
But
ever. Ever. There has not
never,
been a week
never.
where I've just been like, special teams look good this week. Because it's still like, even when we look good, it's like, yeah, but we also had a false start. We also like missed the snap. Like, no matter how good it looks, it still sucks.
Yeah, and Kelly's like, guys, we're super thin at special teams. I'm just like,
You
can
got
we can we
Laterrence Welsh out there.
can we just fucking kick it through the end zone?
You
Like,
got
just kick
guys.
it.
That's the
It's
weird thing is like this whole like we're really light and we don't have dudes. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I get it. You got Jeray Jenkins making plays. You got Besh out there making tackles. Like you don't want your starting wide receivers on kickoff team, but you also have some of these depth guys like Xavier Carter and Laterrence Welsh. Like there's some players
yeah.
that you think could potentially be starters next year that look like Bozo the Clown on kickoff coverage and punt coverage. It's like, yes, Dybert, the only job you have is to kick it out of the end zone,
As
not out of
hard as
bounds,
you as hard as you
not on the
fucking
5,
can.
not on the 5, because if you give it the ball to them on the 5, you might as well kick it out of bounds.
No, yes, I'd rather them start at the 35 than field the kick. Like, you know how every time like, it's almost impossible for the flag to be on, like, the kicking team? It's
Yeah.
always, like, holding block in the back. I still feel like somehow there's just gonna be, like, horse collar tackle, like, we're just
I
never gonna
skip it.
go
I
clean.
skip it. I
Yeah.
pause it. I pause special teams and then I fast forward through it because I can't do the emotional up and down of every single time there is anything positive done on special teams. Here it comes. The flag just gets fucking launched. And it's like, that's Xavier Carter.
But
Like that,
yeah,
it's 17.
yeah.
Like every time.
But it's like, I don't see Kane going anywhere. I don't see
No.
going anywhere. I just blanked on our DB's coach's name, but I don't think,
Steeples. He's like 10 years
Steeples
old. He's here for a while.
Steeples looks like he was in a Disney Channel movie, like,
I think
yeah,
he was.
okay, well, then that
No.
seems fair. Um,
Yeah, no,
Hankton's,
Steeples ain't going anywhere.
Hankton's, I don't feel like's going anywhere. Brad Davis is sure as hell isn't going anywhere.
Mm-mm.
I mean, Frank is done literally hand to the
Locked in.
king. I wish I could come up with a good one. He is Littlefinger. Like, he may not have any
Oh,
titles of
yeah.
hand of the king, but, like, we all know who's fucking running the realm.
And he's gonna own New Orleans with Hankton. Like that's the thing. Like Cortez Hankton and Frank Wilson are about to tag team the fuck out of downtown New Orleans. Like
But it's just
Warren
like
Easton, St. Aug, like all those kids are coming straight home.
I feel like they should change the colors on the coaching changes board because it's just like I just don't know that any LSU names are gonna be available.
If they are, it's because they got better gigs like in the pros or something.
That's
And
what I'm
like we're
saying,
gonna
like,
have to
House may be the most logical, like, one and done answer. Like, he might be the most likely to leave, and it's because an NFL team would want his services.
but again, and like you said, like Kelly was just like, no, like he's very happy.
Well, and
Like
he
what
said I don't think Matt House thought about coming to LSU for a year.
yeah, exactly. And like honestly, dude, with people that we have coming back, especially with Harold Perkins, like we're gonna be on the spotlight going into next season. Like
And
it's
that's
gonna
what
get
it yeah.
better.
I feel like House is a guy who may see like, well, maybe the grass isn't greener. Maybe I'm just the guy with Harold Perkins for 2 more years, and, like, then I can pick probably whatever head coaching job I want at that point, because then everyone's gonna know my name, and
Exactly.
I fully understand if anybody wants to go coach in the NFL and have a real offseason and not have to text kids 24/7 to
Yeah.
hope that, the NIL money came through, like, totally understand that, but unless it's the NFL, I don't know, man. I don't see any of these guys. I feel like our staff next year is gonna be the same.
Yep. Whew. Here we go. Oh, whoa, so many questions. Raw Bonner, what do you say?
Raw boner.
Raw Boner. There it is, Raw Boner. So my question is, should juniors leaving for the draft be recognized for their impact similar to a senior night? No, I think
I don't think juniors I think senior night is for seniors, and I
yeah.
get transfers, it gets a little murky with, like, guys who have only been there a year, but if y I think senior night is something special for a 4-year guy.
Yeah, I think the juniors leaving, they have the attention they need. Like those juniors leaving are going to be obviously pretty good draft picks. They're going to have their night. The seniors that play on senior night, those are guys that need to be honored for staying all 4 years, finishing out the mission, yada yada yada. I think they deserve their own little spotlight night. Even if
Yeah.
it's in a disgusting rain condition, 40 something degrees against UAB.
Man, imagine Texas A&M senior night. That'll be fun. Hopefully the coverage starts early so we can watch that one.
Yeah. I'm good on my end.
I'm out. I'm good.
See you guys next
Guys,
week.
hit us on Twitter at Pot of Gold, at Gold Mike. Subscribe and do all that shit on the YouTube.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Over.